Hey everybody, welcome to our workshop today. I am Amy Bush. We are going to be focusing on some topics for men's in honor of June, which is Men's Health Month, but it pertains to every person. We're going to be really diving into heart rate, blood pressure, and then also cholesterol and what that means for us, the healthy ranges, and what we can do to also keep those in the healthy ranges as well. So we'll start with heart rate. So your heart rate is the number of heartbeats per minute that you have with your radial pulse. So you could do your radial, you could do up at your neck, and that is just the body taking your oxygenated blood from the left ventricle, shooting out to the rest of your blood vessels via the aorta. So your heart rate can vary depending on a couple of different things. So genetics, hormones, age, physical fitness levels, diet, caffeine intake, we all know that for sure, disease and illness as well. So heart rate can also depend on the needs of the body. So think about when you're exercising or you're moving, maybe in an apartment or a house, your body is moving frequently, your muscles are moving, your muscles need more oxygen, aka blood flow throughout the body to sustain that energy level to do those things. And then also you may need less heart rates per minute or less oxygen to the body when you're sleeping, recovering, or resting. So to check your heart rate, you can take that radial pulse, and you want to take it at the radius, so that is near your thumb. You take your index finger and your third finger, and then you can take your heart rate. So when you are taking your heart rate, you want to be listening for that, and you do 30 seconds. Okay, and then you'll times it by 2 to get that whole minute, your beats per minute. Your healthy ranges for heart rate is 60 to 100 beats per minute. So athletes are shooting for that lower end because you are more cardiovascularly, healthy in that way. But some people may have below 60, and that is your bradycardia people who, if you experience dizziness, shortness of breath, or fainting, that might be something you need to consult your doctor about. And then you have your tachycardia, which is your faster than 100 beats per minute. Also probably need to consult your doctor as well for that. So something that goes into more of the athletic performance side of things that also includes and spins off of heart rate is your VO2 max. So that's your volume of oxygen consumption. The higher that is for an athlete, this is something that can be tested on a metabolic cart and doing a couple of different testing methods, is something that shows your body is more efficient at producing oxygen. So when we do talk about VO2 max, which I'm not going to go in depth here with that today, but think about if you were to go up a flight of stairs. Okay, so this is something that will measure cardiovascular health. If you go up a flight of stairs, okay, you get to the top of the stairs and you're like bent over, you're breathing heavy, you're like, whew, man, you're trying to catch up for that oxygen that was needed in that activity or that exercise, physical activity. Then, if you are more conditioned, say you do a lot of cardio, or you've been working out with a trainer or something of that sort, you've been training for a marathon, you get to the top of those stairs and you're like, wow, I am not out of breath anymore. Your VO2 max most likely went up over time doing training, things that are cardio specific, in order to create more volume, more oxygen per heartbeat, right? So someone who goes up those stairs and isn't as physically exhausted or catching their breath has the efficient amounts of oxygen to pump out to the body, to the muscles, to move those muscles, whereas someone who may be a little deconditioned goes up those stairs, again, trying to catch their breath because they're trying to make up for the oxygen that wasn't pumped out per heart rate or heartbeat to the body. So that's a little bit on VO2 max. That's going a little more in depth. Stay tuned for more on that later. We will have another workshop on the specifics of cardiovascular health, like the STEP test, also cardiovascular zones, endurance, things like that. So please stay tuned for that. All right, next one is our blood pressure. Blood pressure, which is the measure of the force of blood on the blood vessel walls in your arteries. we have two components of that. So we have the systolic, your top number, and then your diastolic. So think of SD card. All right, so systolic and then diastolic. So your systolic normal is below 120 on that top number, and then the normal range for below is 80 or below, okay, for your diastolic. So what is systolic? The top. Think of that as the pressure of blood vessels on your heart as your heart squeezes to send out blood and oxygen to the rest of your body. And then think about the diastolic is the return, so the filling up of those chambers of the heart where blood is coming back from the extremities, or where it's pumping out to, coming back, filling that in order to pump out yet again. So that's why those are the two different parts of that blood pressure number and why they're important. Your other levels, so looking at those two numbers, 90 and below for your systolic, and then 60 and below is your hypotension people. You have elevated, so above 120 to 129 for that top, or below 80 on the bottom, you're an elevated blood pressure level. Then you have stage 1 hypertension. That's your 130 to 139. And then your below would be, or your below of being 80 to 89. So that's that 10. And then even more, stage 2 hypertension would be 140 or higher on the top number, or 90 and higher on the bottom number, your diastolic. So tips when you're taking the blood pressure, just to give you, if you are doing some of those at CVS where you measure it yourself, or you have your own at home, some important things to do is to sit 5-10 minutes, get your heart rate down. If you were traveling around, or even when you're going to the office or the doctor's office to get your physical or blood pressure taken, make sure you're not moving around and then sitting down and taking your blood pressure. Give yourself 5 to 10 minutes of stillness to get that. No cross legs, no cross ankles when you're taking those. Don't be talking to the nurse or talking to someone else while this procedure is also being taken. Try to reduce caffeine, and sometimes eating if you can before as well. So some important things to help prevent your blood pressure from being high is to work on a lower heart rate, resting heart rate number as well, that 60 to 100 beats per minute, is exercising 30 minutes a day, or working up to exercising movement, walking even 30 minutes a day. Okay. Also looking at your diet. Where can you increase more whole foods, more vegetables, more fruit, things that are high in fiber, whole grains even, healthy fats, avocado, nuts, and then also low fat options for your proteins. And then also looking at reducing your sodium. This is a big one that's sneaky when I look at people's food logs that have been sent in, and they're like, I feel like I'm eating really great. Then you look at sodium. And some of those fast, more convenient foods, even if we're meal prepping and using like a can of beans or a can of mushrooms to make an omelet, you know, those sodium levels are sneaky and they'll come in. So looking at staying under 2,400, there we go, milligrams of sodium a day, or even more optimal is staying below 1,500 milligrams a day. That is by the American Heart Association, who has set those standards. Also looking at, if you're a smoker, trying to reduce and quit smoking completely, that will help as well. And then managing stress. That's another very important thing that we may not think about a lot. Stress is the inevitable, especially when we're looking at work-life balance. Looking at ways that you can be more mindful, maybe meditating, yoga, journaling. Some people love to do the adult coloring books. Whatever brings you art, you know, whatever it is that brings you calmness and connectiveness, prayer, yoga, all of those fun, amazing things, taking a walk outside even to reduce your stress levels, also great. So those are some tips on that as well. Lastly, we're looking at cholesterol. Cholesterol is a waxy fat-like substance that circulates around the body. It's responsible for building cells, making vitamins, and then also other hormones that your body needs to function. Cholesterol comes from two different sources. So it can come from your liver, which already makes it, and what you need of it, and then also foods from animals that you consume, like meat, poultry, dairy, etc. Foods that are high in saturated and trans fat. These things will make your body produce even more cholesterol from the liver. So, higher cholesterol equals higher risk for cardiovascular disease and stroke. So there's the two different parts of cholesterol. You have the two types, LDL, or L for you need to lower. This is your low density lipoprotein. It can cause vessels to narrow and even become less flexible and harden over time. So atherosclerosis, there we go. That can happen from that. And then your HDL, which is your good, think about healthy, high. That's your high density lipoprotein. It's the good that carries the LDL away from your arteries, okay? So looking at the ranges for that LDL, you're looking for less than 100, and then your HDL 60 or higher, okay? A high cholesterol can result in increased risk, and that high cholesterol will slowly build up in the inner walls of the artery that feed the heart and brain. Therefore, again, higher risk for cardiovascular as well as stroke. So those are things to be mindful of with cholesterol. That's a sneaky one. And there's also triglycerides. And so remember, with your cholesterol, there is the total number, but there are also a couple of, again, you can look specifically at LDL, you can look specifically at HDL, and then your total. Okay, so there's different numbers there, and they may not tell the complete story. So make sure that you're working with your doctor to look at other risk factors that can make you more prone to cardiovascular health, genetics, age, lifestyle, whatever it is, so that you're looking at the total picture and not just this number or that number. Triglycerides is your last part of that cholesterol. It's your most common type of fat in the body, and its job is to store excess fat from your diet. So try triglycerides to keep them low, because elevated LDL and then low HDL can increase your risk altogether, like I said already, of having cardiovascular disease. So for this one, your goal is less than 149, but your ideal is less than 100, okay? Again, check. These are your 3 C's. Check, change, and control. So check in with your doctor. Check these scores regularly. Just because you're having a great year one year and you think I should skip, remember your insurance pays for a physical each year. You also have the incentives of know your numbers possibly, or whatever other incentive your insurance may provide as well. So doing that, checking often. And I'm going to tell you my story with my doctor. She just skipped right over doing any kind of blood work because I'm 32, I'm healthy, whatever. But sometimes we don't realize on the outside what may be going on in the inside. So if that is something that is covered for you, please make sure that you check that as frequently as made available. And then C, change your lifestyle. Get yourself moving. Stop quitting. Get on a smoking cessation program. Get your movement in. Start at 15 minutes a day and work up to 30 minutes a day if you can. Getting better sleep, working on your stress regulation, lowering that sodium, going for more whole foods over processed foods. Change what you can. And then control. If this is something that is genetic for you, something that is out of your control, then you need to work with your doctor to get that under control. Don't let it just continue on its way. Being mindful of it, you have it, this is something genetic, control it. Help your body function more. Remember that these are the things that are like your check engine light. Your body's telling you or sending you a signal that this isn't correct or this isn't right. So take those steps that you need, working with your doctor, working with your lifestyle, in order to make yourself function and run even better. Thank you guys so much for joining me for today's workshop. I hope you got something out of that, and we hope to see you soon. Have a great rest of your day.